Alrighty, I am pleased to be joined by Justin Marville of This Just In podcast. How's it going, Justin?
Oh, it's really going great. You saw Thursday night Packers won in Arizona of all places, so I can't be any more excited right now.
Yeah, again, thanks for coming on. And yeah, you just mentioned you're a Packers fan. We'll talk about them. But before we start talking about that, do you want to kind of talk about your podcast, how we can get it, all that stuff?
Oh well, oddly enough, it's not exactly a podcast per se. It is more of a live show. We show every Mondays. Just type in. Unfortunately, ESPN and Matt Skellerman kind of using our name now. We're trying to look into what we can do there. But hashtag This Just In on YouTube, and you can find us there live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we are also mainly on Instagram. Again, hashtag This Just In, and you should be able to find us there. We preview and then go through all the short clips that we have done throughout the sporting week, typically NFL and NBA.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I thought it was a podcast, but again, check out the YouTube channel, This Just In, or hashtag This Just In. Again, the links will be down in the description below. All right. So we just mentioned you're a Packers fan. They had a big win on Thursday night. What did you just think about the game overall?
I was surprised because I will tell you this, considering obviously Arizona is unbeaten, they were playing at home, and in my eyes, one of the most complete teams in all of football. What we were missing, I didn't think we have any right even making that contest competitive. A lot was made of that Aaron Rodgers was missing his top 3 targets, but it's not just that. When you look at the number of players, and at least no less than 8 starters, 4 of which are Pro Bowlers or all Pro players, all start. There's no David Bakhtiari, arguably the best left tackle in all of football. No Devontae Adams, the best receiver in all of football. Then you're missing all-pro corner in Jair Alexander, all-pro pass rusher in Zadarius Smith. And then on top of that, as we all know, there is no Marquez Valdes-Scantling for most of the season right now, no Alan Lazard, no Kevin King. You wouldn't expect a team missing so much, that's 8 starters they just called, to be able to compete. But not only did they compete, they dominated the game for the most part when you look at time possession. And essentially, the game was only so close to the end, not to take anything away from Arizona, but a bad call where the referees overturned Aaron Jones's touchdown run in our last possession with basically no evidence to overturn that. Should have been a 2-possession game. Thankfully, we get interception with the miscommunication with AJ Green and Kyler Murray at the end, but it really shouldn't have come down to that. But for what I've seen for these 7-1 Packers, that was easily the most impressive win this season.
Yeah, and I was really surprised too about how good the Packers performed, and of course the time of possession was huge. I think, and of course Arizona's offense didn't seem very good on Thursday night. They turned the ball over 3 times. I think 2 of those 3 times was because of Rondale Moore. He didn't play very well. But yeah, I mean, the Packers, despite all the injuries, they're right now they're the number 1 seed in the NFC. Now, of course, Robert Tonyan looks like he's done for the year. But again, that was impressive. Aaron Jones has been solid this year. And if we're going to talk about the Packers a little bit more here, do you think, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers isn't having the same season, and maybe that's because they're running the ball a little more. What have you thought about his season so far?
It's been solid. It's not the same season simply because they've had some red zone issues on offense. And if there was a strength of the team last season, it was our ability to score tons of points in the red zone. Not only did we lead the league in time of possession, but we led the league in points per game. And a lot of that had to do with us scoring in the red zone because we were the most efficient team in the red zone. I am not sure if that is a functionality of the time away. As we all know that Aaron Rodgers didn't spend with the team in the offseason. But I think most of that is actually due to the offensive line. I missed another player, and we're missing starting center Josh Myers, who replaced Pro Bowl center, I want to say, my words are failing me right now, Corey Linsley, who left in the offseason to the Chargers. That line was basically, the strength of our entire offense. Because when you look at it, you had David Bakhtiari on the left side. Right next to him is another Pro Bowler, Elton Jenkins, and then all-pro center, Corey Linsley. that was the strength of this team this year. Now you're basically missing two of those three components, so the line is not as solid as such. Then you're not getting as much time, or you're not being able to move the pile as much running the football. And as you've seen, then the red zone scoring has gone down. But Aaron Rodgers is still as good as there as a quarterback there is. Like, missing that key component along the offensive line. We just don't turn over the football, and that's been his MO his entire career. So the numbers aren't staggering. For whatever reason, I think 3 or 4 straight weeks we've been stuck on 24 points. But as Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur will tell you, stats are for fools. They want winning.
Yeah. And yeah, they're 7-1. And yeah, right now they're in very good position to at least be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Let's start talking about the NFL now. At the time of this recording, this probably won't come out till Sunday night, but this actually is on Sunday morning, and this is before I believe we're in week 8 now. On the AFC, it seems like there's a different team basically every week. Who do you actually think the best team in the AFC is? Right, because right now technically it would be the Bengals, but what do you think? Who do you think the best team in the AFC is right now?
Well, okay. First, before I answer your question, by talent, I'll go Buffalo. I think they are the most complete team, and they're one bad snap away from having the AFC's best record. You know, Josh Allen slips there, can't get any traction on that 4th and goal to go. And, you know, there's no stopping a 6'4", 6'5", 250-pound quarterback if he gets his traction there, but he slips. And his left tackle allows that guy to come straight across the Frazy lane. That 9 out of 10 times that doesn't happen. So I'd say by talent, Buffalo. But you ask right now, and it's those Cincinnati Bengals, not just because of the record. I got to see them up close and personal because we played them in Cincy this year. And of the AFC teams, when you look through the list, they're the ones with the least glaring weaknesses. Their defense, I think, is very, very undersold. This is a team that's elite at stopping and run. They don't have any major gaps in the back end. And we all know by now Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. I think that's like Jamar Chase may end up with the best rookie season of a wide receiver ever seen. So if you ask me, because the Chargers can't stop and run, the Ravens have a ton of injuries. I'm not sold on the Raiders as much. Yeah, I'm going to have to go right now. I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Yeah, it seems like, Jamari Chase, we haven't seen this good of a year from a rookie receiver since you probably have to go way back to Randy Moss. Now, Odell Beckham had a pretty good year, but not like what Jamari Chase is having. And it's kind of crazy, too, because before the season, we were afraid that Jamari Chase was a bust after his very disappointing performance in the preseason. But that just goes to show you it's just preseason. It's not actually the real game. But in my opinion, because I think the last few weeks it's been different all the time. I think we thought the Bills for a while, then we thought the Chargers, we thought the Ravens after they smacked the Chargers, and now it's like, is it the Bengals? I mean, the Titans I think deserve some credit too after what they did to Kansas City. Derrick Henry is just a beast. I think a lot of people have him maybe even as the MVP leader. Do you think Derrick Henry is the leader for the MVP right now?
I think I'd go 1A and 1B. The numbers that Tom Brady's putting up right now, you just can't ignore that. And that's also a one-loss team over there in Tampa. The only loss they had was on the road to a very good Los Angeles Rams team. But, I mean, if someone were to say Derrick Henry right now is the MVP, I could not argue. And, I think it's 1A and 1B, Tom Brady, Derrick Henry. And I just put out a post not too long ago on our Instagram channel, shameless plug, that I don't think there is an offensive player right now that has as much impact on a game or defensive game plans than Derrick Henry. I sat down and watched the game against Kansas City, and granted, that's a very, very bad defense, but they were bringing 8 and 9 in the box just to stop him. And for that reason, you saw A.J. Brown being left one-on-one, and A.J. Brown absolutely destroyed their back end, and all of that is simply because of Derrick Henry. Then you saw Ryan Tannehill walking on a goal-to-goal situation on the right-hand side, simply because they, play action left, and the entire defense has shifted that side, and no one there to stop Ryan Tannehill. That's a Derrick Henry effect. I don't think there is a single offensive player, or at least non-quarterback player right now, that has an impact on games like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and of course, what he did, he even threw a touchdown pass in the game to start that. That was pretty incredible. And of course, he used to play quarterback, but every once in a while, they kind of do that jump pass, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, but man, Ryan Tannehill, he's been special. Of course, last year, I think he finished third for the MVP voting. I think he won the Offensive Player of the Year. But yeah, if he rushes for over 2,000 yards, no one's ever done that for 2 straight seasons. That's very impressive, especially in a passing league now. It's just very impressive. Let's see here. What team? Or actually, let's start with the Chiefs. Actually, why do you think they've been struggling so much? And I mean, they'll probably be beating the Giants on Monday night. But what have you thought about their season overall? Because it's been their defense, of course, is horrible. But what do you think about the Chiefs so far this season?
As you mentioned, it's not like anything new. Their defense has always been, mediocre to bad for these, 3 or 4 years that Kansas City has been good. The issue now is that the defense is even worse. Their offensive line has gotten worse. Like, we saw the injury to Eric Fisher and then he departed. I think they also lost either their left guard or center.
Mm-hmm.
As much as they tried to retool that in the offseason, it really hasn't been good. But the primary focus or the reason that we're seeing that this team looks bad is because of the ill discipline of Patrick Mahomes and the team. And granted, that same ill discipline made them so spectacular, these long plays down the field. But now teams have wisened up and they said, okay, we're going to live with certain things. And one of those things is not Tyreek Hill down the field. We're going to take away that explosive component to your game. So we're going to play 2 high safeties the entire time. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to dink and dunk your way to beat us. And when you look at it, Patrick Mahomes does not have the discipline to take those underneath, or check downs. He just doesn't have it. I don't understand why teams are readily giving him that. And he's just looking to play hero ball. Dan Orlovsky said it best. He did it on NFL Live, a breakdown of Patrick Mahomes' feet. And you've seen, especially against the Titans were giving him the passes underneath to backs. He just refused to take it. And instead of resetting his feet in the pocket and taking those checkdowns, he was scrambling outside the pocket, looking for those big plays that made Patrick Mahomes what he has been in his 4 years as a starter. But teams are not giving that up anymore. And it is real concerning and disheartening to me that there's an easy fix to the solution in that just target the underneath stuff and live with dinking and dunking until teams are no longer willing to give that up. And the Kansas City Chiefs just don't want to do it. And as I said, so now you're seeing the interceptions, you're seeing the fumbles come because they're pressing, and your defense is just not that good enough to live with multiple turnovers a game.
Yeah, you said it. You said it really good. I couldn't disagree with you there. And yeah, because people always used to criticize Drew Brees for always hitting those short routes, but if the defense gives you something like that, you got to take. And even Brady does that a lot, or he used to do that in New England because it works. And I understand what Mahomes, he wants to go deep every time, but like you said, he's got to start just taking the short passes in. I think the first team to really shut down Tyreek Hill, I think, was Baltimore back in week 2. And then that was kind of the blueprint for all these teams that are taking on the Chiefs. And I mean, the Chiefs right now are 3-4. I still think they make the playoffs. I still got a feeling they're going to win that AFC West because I'm with you. I don't know if I trust the Raiders. I mean, Derek Carr has been playing very impressive, and he definitely deserves to be in the MVP running. But we've seen this before with the Raiders, and especially with what they've gone through this whole season. It's just, I can't exactly see the Raiders winning that division, but maybe they surprise me and surprise a lot of people. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. What have you thought about his season? Because he had his last 5 weeks were good, and then of course he had the week last week against the Bengals. Didn't play the best, but what have you thought about his season so far?
Considering what I spoke about earlier, all the injuries, there's no J.K. Dobbins, no Justice Hill, no Gus Edwards, and that's their top 3 running backs. For part of the season, they were without rookie first-round selection Rashad Bateman, or is he second round? And then, they lost Marcus Peters before they even snapped the football. For Lamar Jackson to have this team leading the AFC North, one of the toughest, if not, I'd say the toughest or second best division at worst in football, for him on his back to have the Ravens leading that division, and still that's a 2-loss team. he has to be in the MVP conversation. I thought, like, prior to this season, I was one who was a bit critical of him because, everyone wanted to say he's not an efficient down the field passer, or, he's not very accurate during the playoffs. JJ, I'm done with that. I told my co-host, and she is a huge, huge Lamar Jackson fan, never will you ever see me on a podcast or live show ever disrespecting or have anything negative to say about Lamar Jackson for what he has done for this team. And I say that this is his 4th year as a starter.
Yep.
All Lamar Jackson does is win games. That's all he's ever done. And everyone keeps moving the goalposts with this dude. He's won games. He's won a playoff game already. I think since he's gotten in the league, I am almost certain outside of Tom Brady or maybe Patrick Mahomes, no one has won more games than he has. I think he's truly a special and talent, and he has to be in the MVP conversation as well.
Yeah, because I think they were talking about it. He had better stats or just as good as stats as when he won the MVP back in 2019 at this time. And I mean, with all the injuries that he's had to face, and of course he's got a playoff win every year he improves. I predicted them to make the Super Bowl, and I still think they're going to do that, just of course with all the injuries. But again, the top 3 running backs were out. Marcus Peters is out. His 2 receivers, Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin, were out. Nick Boyle is still out, his other tight end. And then you have Ronnie Stanley, who's done for the year. I mean, it's just so many injuries. And of course, I feel like now in today's NFL, there's going to be there's going to be a lot of injuries, but not quite like this. So, I mean, Lamar Jackson's very impressive. I guess he just passed Dan Marino for the most wins by under age 25, which is very impressive. But I think he's definitely been having a great season. So right now they're 5-2. I think they're the 5th seed in the AFC. So we'll see what happens. They have a bye this week, and of course they play Minnesota next week. But I think they'll get the job done there. What team or what player? Actually, I'll say what team and player has impressed you the most this season?
Oh, I want to see what's happening in Cincinnati again, like with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Because I saw the drops in the preseason. I was like, for full disclosure, I did not like the Jamar Chase pick initially. I thought after seeing what happened to Joe Burrow last season, they needed to take Penei Sewell. And what do I know about football? Because this combination has been nothing short of spectacular. I did not expect the Cincinnati Bengals to be here. And the NFL has a history every season of somebody coming from worst to first. And I should have tried to target one of these teams. But the Cincinnati Bengals are far, far ahead of schedule. I know everyone wants to say that about the Chargers. But entering this season, the Chargers were everyone's chick pick to make some noise going into the postseason. No one saw these Bengals coming. So I want to see the job that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have done this season, when no one would have thought that this Cincinnati Bengals team would be competitive in a very, very tough AFC North. Those two.
Yeah, and I think it was every team in the AFC North, I think, has a winning record. Of course, Pittsburgh didn't play last week, but I think every team has a winning record in the AFC North, and I think the Bengals are actually 2 years ahead of schedule. I thought this year they would go 7-10 or 8-9, play really good games, but just not quite have enough to win, and then next year maybe sneak into the playoffs or maybe be that 7 seed at 9-8. Now they're looking to possibly be the best team in the AFC, win the AFC North, and clinch the number 1 seed, which is impressive because I think for the most part the AFC is better than the NFC this year. It might be about the same, but the Bengals. I see what you're saying here. They've been very impressive. And the thing about the Chargers, everybody was saying them. I feel like when everybody's on the Chargers bandwagon, they fail or they really struggle. But that, of course, that was back in the Phillip Rivers days where if you didn't think they would be good, they would be good. Or when people would start talking about them, they would go 8-8 or something like that. Of course, now we have 17 games, so it's a little different. But I just think that the Chargers were kind of a hard team to predict, kind of like the Cowboys. But I mean, we'll see what happens, but the Bengals, very impressive. I definitely understand what you're saying there. Before we end the interview, and again, thanks for coming on, Justin. What have you thought about the Rams? They have been really good this year. Of course, the adding of Matt Stafford, you guys used to play him twice a year when he was in Detroit. Now he's actually in a position where he can actually succeed. What have you thought about the Rams and maybe Matt Stafford an MVP? Maybe?
well, this has been a loaded conversation in terms of MVP race because it feels like every team we're talking about has a legit MVP candidate. For us in the NFC North, this is not a surprise. I've been on record telling people y'all do not understand how good Matt Stafford is, and it's only because he's playing in Detroit against with a franchise that is really, really terrible, and without primetime games and not being able to make the playoffs consistently. That people don't understand how good Matt Stafford is. You've heard Aaron Rodgers even talk about it when all the hype was on Patrick Mahomes and these no-look passes. That was something Matt Stafford has been doing long before. But again, it's Detroit. And the moment that he got traded to LA, I knew that this is going to be an immediate contender. I was upset because it means that's another team that the Green Bay Packers have to deal with come playoff time because Jared Goff really is not it. But as you see now, Cooper Kupp looks like the best receiver in all of football all of a sudden. And it's just no surprise. And I think not to, pat our team on the back any more than I'm currently doing right now. But I think the breaking point came for Sean McVay because he and Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, they all run the same offense that they got from Kyle's dad, Mike Shanahan. We had a playoff game just last season where Los Angeles came to town and we put a drubbing on them. And I think Sean McVay took that game and watched Aaron Rodgers running his version of his offense to realize this is what my offense should look like with a proper trigger man. And so said, so done. We went out, got Matt Stafford, a clear upgrade on Jared Goff. And it is just no surprise now. Not only, we all know about the defensive studs for the Rams were in terms of Aaron Donald and obviously Jalen Ramsey. But no, this Rams offense is looking like years ahead of what it used to be. So I'm not surprised because Matt Stafford is that guy. And unfortunately for us Packers, it means now we're going to have to deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams in this loaded NFC to me.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. And yeah, Matt Stafford, he's finally free from Detroit. But, I think the Rams are a Super Bowl favorite. Them, the Buccaneers, and Packers are kind of the three top teams in the NFC. The Cardinals, of course, are as well. I just don't know. I can't really trust the Cowboys at the moment, but we'll see what happens there. Before we end the interview, and again, thanks for coming on, Justin. Who do you have as your Super Bowl predictions?
Whoa. This one is tough. No. Like you, I like those Ravens simply because I still think Buffalo is missing a trick in being able to get after the passer. So I like Baltimore to finally get out of the AFC. And I have to go the homer pick here. I typically don't go and push my Packers, but I get the sense of urgency from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. This is their last year in Green Bay for, no matter what Packer fans will tell you and how, Aaron loves the playing for the franchise. He just doesn't like his general manager, but he loves his coaching staff. He loves his players. I think finally the Packers get over the hump. It's going to be tough because the NFC still has Rams, still has the Buccaneers. Unlike you, I do trust the Cowboys to a particular extent. But yeah, I think the Packers and the Ravens are going to make it to the Super Bowl. That's my Super Bowl prediction there.
Okay. I'm kind of close with you there. Of course, I said the Ravens, but after they made the move for Stafford, I said the Rams and Ravens. I got another feeling that the Packers are going to make the NFC Championship and lose again. I don't know. They've done that the last 2 years, so we'll see what happens there. But again, thanks for coming on, Justin. Don't forget to check out his YouTube channel, #ThisJustIn. Check him out on Instagram. Again, all the links will be down in the description below. All right, is there anything else you want to add before we end the interview, Justin?
No, I just want to say thank you so very much, JJ. It has been a pleasure coming on, and just for you to just ask me to come on has just been wow. I really feel the love and I appreciate coming on and having this chat with you.
All right, again, thanks for coming on. Don't forget to check out his YouTube channel. Again, the links will be down in the description below. All right, thanks, Justin, and have a wonderful day and enjoy some football.
You too. It's Sunday.